Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today, this video is actually called Islam is a Religion of Peace. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking, like, and how can this be a religion, Islam be a religion of peace when, especially after, like, say, at the beginning of this month, we had that terrorist attack in London, where this man stabbed quite a few people, and I believe he killed two of them. Obviously, which is obviously a horrific thing to have happened, and rest in peace to the victims, and and the fair play to the people that held him down while the police came. Obviously, I understand that one of them was a Muslim brother, and one of some of the other ones were not Muslim as well. And these people held him down till the police came. Fair play to the police for killing him, as far as I'm concerned. He killed two people. He deserved to die. And and the only reason he killed two people is because he wasn't left alone longer enough in order to try and kill others. So yeah, and I know people, I might get some hate from people saying, "Oh, why are you siding with the police over a Muslim brother?" Because as far as I'm concerned, when you go around killing innocent people, you are not my Muslim brother, and any Muslim of any worth will tell you that. So that's my side on the first thing. And obviously, people will talk about ISIS, and I've already made videos refuting ISIS, and so I'm not going to go into obviously really into that part because I really shouldn't have to refute ISIS at this point. Anyone with even a tiny grain of knowledge about what Islam truly says will know that you don't really have to be a genius to be able to refute them. But then obviously people go, well, if Islam is a religion of peace, why does the Quran have verses that talk about war? And the reason why is because Islam is a religion of peace, not a religion of pacifism. The difference, what I mean here, is the fact that if Islam was truly a religion of war, there will be nothing about peace whatsoever. It would just be, every single verse would be kill this person, attack that person, and so on and so forth. If it was a religion of pacifism, it would be such as it says in the Bible, where Jesus says, just turn the other cheek. To put it bluntly, just grin and bear it. Even if someone kills your whole family, just grin and bear it. Don't do anything back whatsoever. So this is why Islam is a religion of peace and not a religion of pacifism. And I'll go into, obviously, I've had to rinse notes. So if you see me looking down, it's just because I'm reading. Because, obviously, like I said, I didn't have time to memorize all of this. But so to explain to you obviously why religion of peace, and just to give you some history of obviously about the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, as well as some verses from the Quran that talk about this as well. So Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was preaching for over 10 years before he was given permission to leave Mecca to Medina, permission to migrate. And during those 10 years, what happened is obviously first he was ignored and laughed at by his family members, not all of them obviously, but the people of Quraysh, and he was shouted down basically saying, oh, he's a madman, oh, he's gone insane, he's this, he's that, and so on and so forth. And then when he started gaining more followers, they then began to attack them in the streets. Obviously, Sumaya was one of the first, if not the first martyr to die for Islam, radiallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with her, may Allah be merciful upon her. Excuse me. Obviously, we all know the story of Bilal ibn Rabah, radiallahu anhu. Obviously, that he was dragged around the hot desert sand and had crushing rocks placed on his chest and been told, give up your religion, give up Muhammad. And he kept saying no. He kept saying Ahad, Ahad, as in there's only one, there's only one. So, and that's obviously and so 10 years of that before he was even given permission to leave Mecca and go to Medina. After that, he was then given permission to actually fight back, but he was only given permission to fight those who fought against him. So in the same way that most countries' laws set that you can only hit someone if they've hurt you first, really, because if you go up and just punch someone in the face, you're going to go to prison, you're going to go to jail for it, if you're caught and you're convicted of this. Yeah, if someone hits you and you've hit them back, that's considered self-defense if it's provable. And obviously, as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-seeing and all-knowing. So even if you can find a way to convince yourself that what you did was justified, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly knows what you mean. So obviously that's that part. And then obviously later on in both the hadith and in the Quran, it goes into explaining what the rules of jihad actually are. And obviously for all of those who think jihad means holy war, it doesn't. It means struggle. So it can mean anything. If I was trying to quit smoking, which I am, that's a jihad. If any of you have ever made a New Year's resolution to change something about yourselves, that's jihad. You've engaged in jihad, basically. It's the inner struggle. The outer struggle, or the lesser struggle, is the actual act of physically fighting someone. And it says that, and to deviate a little bit from this, it says that if you can stop something If you see evil, stop it with your hands. If you cannot stop it with your hands, stop it with your speech. And if you cannot stop it with your speech, then hate it within your heart, which is the lowest form of your man. So, to put that bluntly, if you see something going on that you don't like, physically stop it. If you can't, or if you're afraid, tell them to stop. And if you're even afraid to do that, or if something's stopping you from, say, if you have a very corrupt and tyrannical government, then at least hate it within. So that's all that means. So, but the rules of actually fighting are quite strict. There's not really any form of interpretation with these, and anyone who can view them as a certain interpretation, as far as I'm concerned, is full of it and doesn't know what they're talking about. So, for example, the first thing is obviously you don't kill women, children, the elderly, or the sick, and that's in Abu Dawood. You shouldn't form any treachery or mutilate any of the bodies. That's in Al-Muwatta. You can't even destroy trees or kill animals unless you're killing them for food. So if you're just needlessly going around chopping down trees or just killing animals for the sake of it, and both of these are in Al-Muwatta, that's a sin. That's not jihad, that's a sin. Because you're needlessly killing things. A Muslim should never hit his brother in the face. This is both in Bukhari and Muslim. And this is one of the reasons why some people say that obviously UFC isn't permissible for Muslims, or boxing, or any type of combat sport, at least professionally, because that's what you're engaged in. It says, do not kill monks or those that are in a place of worship. This is by Ibn Hanbal. So, obviously monks are kind of self-explanatory, and people are in a place of worship. If people are hiding in a church, don't kill them in there. It's still a place of worship. It says, don't destroy villages and towns. So, if you're going through, which is why another reason actually why some scholars say that artillery shouldn't be used in any form of war, because you don't know exactly who or what you're going to hit. So, and obviously you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't just destroy villages and towns, especially for the sake of a reason. Obviously, if it happens by accident, it happens by accident. Fair enough. If you didn't mean to, you can't really be blamed for it. Allah knows best. But you shouldn't go out of your way to do these things. And let's think for a second who does those things. Oh yeah, ISIS. So, which goes again to me, even though I said I really wouldn't refute them because I don't really need to, there you go. If you can't really be this holy Islamic army when you're going against the very rules of religion that you claim to fight for. Go up to the next bit. Don't even wish for an encounter with the enemy. And this is in Sahih Muslim. So, if you are going to fight, it kind of should be the last resort. You shouldn't openly pray and wish to have to be involved in this. Because in reality, as I'm sure all of you should agree, there shouldn't be laws about fighting, because in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. And the very last thing is don't use fire, and this is by Abu Dawood. When I say obviously any of you who are Muslim know that I mean these are the people that have recorded the hadiths. For any of those who don't know, the names that I give after these aren't the people that have said these things. All of these things were said by Rasulullah, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The names that I've given after the things I say are the people, like I say, the authors that recorded him saying that, or the people that compiled the books of his sayings, and so on. So yeah, but like I say, it says don't use fire. The reason why we shouldn't use fire is because obviously fire can spread, it can destroy things it doesn't need to. And obviously I've never been set on fire, but I imagine it's a very painful way to die. It's certainly not quick. But now let's move on to the actual verses of the Quran itself. The books that were sent down, the words that were sent down by God to the Prophet Muhammad, and explain what it means when it talks about war. So it says, this is in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 190. You may fight those in the cause of God, those who fight you, but do not transgress, for God loves not the transgressors. Now, when it says do not transgress, or do not transgress the limits, depending on which translation you're reading, the limits are what I've just said before. It says, don't use fire, don't kill women or children or the innocent or the elderly, don't destroy buildings, and so on and so forth. So those are what the limits said. Basically, don't go outside the rules of engagement. It says, kill those, and this next part's in chapter 2, so Surah Al-Baqarah again, verse 191. Kill those who wage war against you, and evict them from where they have evicted you. Oppression is worse than murder. So clearly, again, it says it should only be done in self-defense. Obviously, punch those who have punched you, and if they've gone into your house and thrown you out, go back in and do the same thing. Exactly what the Palestinians need to do to the Zionists in this case. And I say Zionists because obviously not all Jews support this, and I'm not going to go ahead and say all Jews, because obviously that's incredibly anti-Semitic of me. But that's a prime example of this. Or to give another example, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan during the 80s, they invaded their country. They have every right to fight back, especially because one of the hallmarks of a tyrannical communist government like the Soviet Union was to completely get rid of all religion. They were considered godless atheists, which is partly true. So, and then obviously it goes on to say in chapter 2, verse 192, if they refrain, then God is the forgiver and the most merciful. So basically fight them until they can't fight you anymore. So, which means to the sense that the moment they surrender, so basically if you fight someone and you knock them out, if you then keep hitting them, that's when it becomes a crime. In the same sense of, if you fight someone and they run away and then you chase after them, it's still legally considered a crime, even though depending on what it was that they've done, morally it might be okay. That's still the case. That's what it means here. So the moment they say enough or they apologize, that's enough. So it says, you may also fight to eliminate oppression. So obviously, in the case of where people were going over and joining in Afghanistan to help fight the Soviets, they were going in there to help stop oppression. People that have gone to join the fight against ISIS was helping to stop oppression, for example. Or anyone who was going over really to stop the Syrian government because considering the fact they use chemical gas on their own people, that's considered helping to stop oppression. So it says, you may also fight to eliminate oppression and to worship God freely. So, again, an example of the Soviets, if they would have won, they would have completely stopped the religion of Islam in that country anyway, or they would have tried their best to forbid it. They would have probably destroyed all the mosques they could find, burned all the Qurans they could find, and, killed all the imams and any of the scholars. And it says, if they refrain, do not transgress, also do not aggress. My apologies, I can't even read my own writing. Aggression is only permitted against the aggressors. So again, it goes in to say that you should only fight those who fight you, and if they stop, you stop. And obviously I've done a video on another verse of this where it says, kill the non-believers wherever you find them, and explain what that really means. It doesn't say kill the non-believers. It's a horrible translation. What it really means is kill the aggressors wherever you may find them. Those who spread corruption upon the earth, seek them out and then find them. So Hitler, for example, prime example of this, as I said in that video. Seek out people like him who are causing corruption and destruction upon the earth and take them out. That, Islamically at least, is completely permitted because they're evil people. And I'm not talking about people who, in your opinion, may be evil. I mean, like, in a general consensus of this person's a bad person. So yeah, that goes into there. So anyone who claims to try and use, certain verses from the Quran taken out of context, again, like I say, that pretty much answers those questions. That's why Islam itself is a religion of peace. It's not a religion of war, but it's not a religion of pacifism either. It's a religion of peace. Because, like I say, it doesn't tell you to go out and attack people unnecessarily, but it also doesn't tell you to turn the other cheek. But even then, the reason why those verses were revealed, because it was a time when Muslims were literally being killed for being Muslims and weren't doing anything. They weren't fighting back. I imagine the Torah probably would have been exactly the same if it had been revealed during the time of the Holocaust. Obviously, that's a very extreme example, but you obviously hopefully understand my drift. So yeah, guys, that's all from me today. Tell me what you think in the comment section. If any of you happen to disagree with me, I'm happy to talk about this in the comment section. Please, obviously, don't be afraid to comment, whether you're Muslim, whether you're non-Muslim, whatever the case may be. Obviously, please make sure to like and subscribe. And again, if you liked it, great. If you didn't, fair enough. Tell me. Either way, I'm open to constructive criticism as well. If there's anything you think I could have done to make this video better, please, again, let me know. But until then, guys, peace.